The Galactic Council had been clear in their assessment. Humans were fragile, weak, and utterly unsuitable for space combat. Ambassador Veltar of the Krexian Empire had delivered the verdict with particular relish, his forearms gesturing dismissively as he spoke to the assembled representatives. These mammals, he had sneered, lack exoskeletons, proper claws, or even basic radiation resistance. They cannot survive in vacuum for more than minutes, and their bone density is laughably low. What possible contribution could they make to our coalition forces? Captain Elena Vasquez had sat quietly through the deliberation, her fingers drumming a silent rhythm on the council table. The other species, the crystalline Zephyrite, the hulking Gorvani, the insectoid hive mind collective, had all nodded in agreement. Humans, they concluded, would serve better in support roles. Supply chains, perhaps. Medical assistance. Certainly not frontline combat. We appreciate the Council's perspective, Elena had replied, her voice steady. But we'd like to request a demonstration. A single engagement to prove our worth. The Council had erupted in what could charitably be called laughter, a cacophony of clicks, hisses, and harmonic resonances that roughly translated to amusement across 17 different species. 3 months later, that laughter had died in the depths of the Kepler debris field. The engagement was meant to be simple. A joint task force would clear out a Void Reaper nest that had taken root in an abandoned mining station. The Reapers were a scourge that had plagued the galaxy for centuries, biomechanical horrors that thrived in zero gravity, their chitinous forms bristling with plasma cutters and neural disruptors. They moved through space like predatory fish, using debris as cover and momentum as weaponry. Commander Thask of the Gorvani Heavy Brigade had taken command, relegating the human contingent to observation and support. His strategy was standard galactic doctrine: form a defensive sphere, advance methodically, and rely on superior firepower to overwhelm the enemy. It had taken the Reapers exactly 17 minutes to shred his formation apart. Elena watched from her position aboard the UES Prometheus as alien fighters spun helplessly through the debris field, their pilots struggling with three-dimensional combat that defied their terrestrial instincts. The Krexians fired in straight lines. The Zephyrite moved in rigid geometric patterns. The Hive Collective swarmed but couldn't adapt when their predetermined formations were broken. The Void Reapers danced between them like sharks through schools of fish. Prometheus actual to all human units. Elena's voice crackled over the comm. Execute Waltz protocol. Music is Claire de Lune. What happened next would be analyzed in military academies across the galaxy for the next 1,000 years. The human fighters didn't form up. They didn't advance in formation. Instead, they scattered like startled birds and then began to move like something else entirely. Lieutenant Commander Sarah Chen twisted her fighter in a spiraling helix, using the rotation of a destroyed cargo hauler to slingshot herself behind a Reaper. Her movements weren't straight lines or predictable arcs. They flowed like water, like wind, like something organic responding to invisible currents. Sergeant Marcus Webb converted his fighter's thrust into a complex tumbling pattern, spinning on 3 axes while his targeting computer tracked 17 different vectors simultaneously. To the alien observers, it looked like chaos. To Webb, it was a bachata he'd been dancing since he was 12. The human pilots moved through space like they'd been born there, treating zero gravity not as an obstacle to overcome, but as a dance partner to embrace. They used debris as stepping stones, employed their enemy's momentum against them, and turned the three-dimensional battlefield into something fluid and beautiful. Dr. Kamal of the Zephyrite Science Directorate would later write, "The human's inner ear structure, combined with their species' unique relationship with rhythm and spatial awareness, allowed them to navigate zero-G combat environments with an intuitive understanding that no other known species could match. They thought in curves where we thought in lines, in spirals where we thought in grids. But in the moment, all the galaxy saw was impossibility made manifest. Elena's fighter twisted through a gap barely wider than her wingspan, plasma bolts tracing deadly aurora around her hull. She caught a piece of station debris with her fighter's manipulator arm, spun it like a hammer throw, and sent it careening into a Reaper's sensor cluster. The creature reeled, blinded, just as Chen came spinning out of the dark to deliver a killing blow. The battle lasted 43 minutes. When it was over, the Void Reaper nest was eliminated and not a single human fighter had been lost. The alien survivors hung motionless in their battered ships, watching the humans regroup with movements that seemed choreographed by some cosmic intelligence. The human fighters didn't just fly, they flowed, they curved, they danced. Prometheus actual to all units, Elena's voice came over the open channel. Good work, everyone. Let's head home. As the human task force departed, their formation looked less like a military unit and more like a flock of birds riding invisible thermals, each pilot moving in perfect harmony with forces the other species couldn't even perceive. Ambassador Veltar's report to the Galactic Council was brief. Recommend immediate integration of human units into all deep space combat operations. Previous assessment requires revision. The galaxy had called humans weak, fragile creatures unsuited for the harsh realities of space combat. They had been right about one thing: humans were fragile. But they had failed to understand that fragility bred adaptability, and adaptability bred something that looked very much like magic when it moved through the void between stars. The other species fought against zero gravity. Humans danced with it, and in the endless black of space that made all the difference.